Most veterans prep for the C&P exam, but there's a real danger that can happen before you walk into the exam room. Hidden in your medical file could be 5 fatal mistakes that could quietly sabotage your claim from the inside out. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what those mistakes are and how to fix every single one of them before you walk into the exam room, so you can win your claim and get the rating that you've earned and you deserve. I'm going to cover things like the doctor got it wrong mistake. It can absolutely blindside you during the exam. And the you look like you've gotten a lot better mistake, where you have a diagnosis, but unfortunately it's not recent. And stick around for mistake number 4, where I cover silent pain means denied claim. If your file went quiet with no medical care documented, your claim could be dead on arrival. Would you please consider subscribing to my channel and help me reach as many veterans as possible? Also, if you consider liking this video, sharing it with anyone you think it may benefit, and please drop me a comment. Let me know what you think, and let me know where you're watching from. I want to give a special shout out to our veterans watching from all over the United States and all over the world. It's an honor to have you on this channel. Well, let's get started. Make sure you don't get caught by the doctor got it wrong fatal mistake, where you uploaded your medical records, but unfortunately you didn't check and the doctor's notes are actually wrong. They don't represent your true condition. You may have gone to the efforts of gathering your medical records and uploading them. Maybe you had the VA collect them. And so you feel good about that because you're trusting the doctors, you're trusting the medical professionals. But a lot of times nowadays, they're using voice transcription, they're using recordings, they're using assistants, and even AI. For example, you could be in an appointment and you tell the doctor, they ask you, how many panic attacks, or have you had any panic attacks recently? And you say, yes, I've had one a week. And you get your medical records back and they say, patient indicates no panic attacks. Now your file, your records contradict your reality. And so if you don't check and catch that and have it corrected before your exam, what the examiner is going to see is this patient has no panic attacks in their record, even though you're having them once a week. And what they'll end up writing is something like, veteran reports symptoms, but medical records do not support severity. That line alone can absolutely tank your claim. The VA will see this as a contradiction between your statement and what you're claiming and your medical records, and they're going to go with your medical records. Here's what we need to happen. What I'm claiming accurately matches what's in my medical records, then I'm golden. Here's some things you can do before the exam and before you submit your claim to make sure you don't run into this fatal mistake. Review your records, really do an audit of your records, flag anything that's inaccurate, schedule a corrective visit, and ask your provider to correct the diagnosis or to correct the doctor's notes. And try something like this to your medical professional. I noticed the record says I have no panic attacks, but I actually reported that I'm having one a week. I'm not sure what happens. Can you please update those records and clarify? And then you take those updated records and you make sure you upload those to your claim. Make sure you don't get caught by the you look like you're good to go mistake, AKA you've got a diagnosis, unfortunately it's outdated. So you may have had this condition that you're claiming for years and you assume that your file and your medical records proves it. But your last diagnosis or your last medical record is maybe from 2019. And what your claim file is actually showing in this case is no recent diagnosis, no treatment notes within the last 12 months or so. And so your file looks stale even if your symptoms are still severe. What the examiner is going to see is no doctor visits plus no treatment plus no medications equals this vet doesn't have a problem. They're better. They're good to go now. They are trained to look for current medical status. And they could write something like, Veteran reports issues, but no recent medical documentation available. This can absolutely sink your claim. And this can show up in your decision as something like this from a VA rater: claim denied due to lack of recent medical evidence, or condition considered resolved based on treatment history. Here's what I need to happen. The sweet spot for recent medical evidence for the VA and these C&P examiners is typically within the last 90 days. At the maximum, you want to go 6 to 12 months to consider this a recent diagnosis, a current condition. So what I need to happen is I need my medical records to show my current condition, documented, up to date, so that what I'm claiming is actually matching what the examiner sees and what the rater sees. Here's what you can do before the exam. You can make sure that you schedule an appointment with your provider, and you can ask them to confirm the condition is active and impacting your daily life. You could try saying something like, can you confirm this in writing that this condition is still active and impacting me today? Then what you want to do is make sure you upload that to your VA claim. Make sure you don't get caught by the vanishing act mistake. You've been seeing your doctor regularly. You assume your records show how bad things really are, but your provider doesn't update it thoroughly and writes things kind of vaguely or in generalities like stable, or using terms like doing well, or no complaints, or things like reports headaches, without the specifics that you need to support your claim. What the examiner can end up writing in this case is, veteran reports no significant issues. Conditions appear mild. Patient doing well, no complaints, stable. This can kill your claim because a VA rater relies on exact wording. Stable to them equals improvement. Doing well will equal no rating. Reports headaches isn't rateable. May struggle isn't proof. So what I need to happen in this case is I need my medical records to show rateable evidence, specific symptoms, specific frequency, specific impacts that match the VA and disability benefit questionnaire criteria. Here's what you can do before the exam. Review your medical records thoroughly and look for vague phrases. Look for generalities. Schedule that focus visit. And what you can say to your provider is, can you include how this affects my daily life, like missed work, sleep issues, pain levels? Can you please document the frequency I'm having these headaches, the impact upon my life of these headaches, the medications? And then you make sure to get those into your claim. And you can also submit a personal statement in support of a claim to support this as well. Make sure you never get caught off guard by silent pain means denied claim. So in this case, you've had symptoms for years, but the file shows long gaps between visits, no treatment, no updates, no proof that the condition has continued. In other words, no continuity of care. In this case, what the examiner will see is a timeline that starts and stops and stutters. To them, that means you probably got better, your symptoms weren't serious enough to need ongoing treatment, and your story doesn't match your file. How this shows up in your decision is denied due to lack of continuous medical evidence. One line like no recent medical documentation can tank your rating even if your condition never improved. Things you can do to help make up for these gaps in your timeline. First of all, review your timeline, flag any gaps for treatment longer than 6 months. Then add a bridge statement. You can say something like, I self-managed, or I tried to care for myself due to the following reason, but my symptoms continued and my condition never got better. Schedule a catch-up appointment immediately, and you can ask your provider something like this. Could you put something like this in my medical records if it's accurate, that I'm having ongoing symptoms since 2018, 2019, 2001, with periods of self-management until I resume care in, say, 2021, for example. At a minimum, they may be willing to document in your medical records that the patient said they've suffered from this for 20 years. Even though they didn't continuously get medical treatment, they did try to self-care and they tried other things to work in lieu of medical treatment. You can also fill out a personal statement in support of a claim and basically explain that continuity of care, even though it wasn't with a certain medical provider or you may not have medical records. Make sure you don't get caught off guard by the no link, no love fatal mistake. Your symptoms started during or because of your military service. You assume the VA is going to connect the dots for you. Your current condition connected to your injury, event, or illness that happened during your time of service. You think your service record speaks for itself. I mean, sometimes, honestly, it's common sense. What your claim file is actually showing is treatment notes, service history, but no bridge or no link between them. And with that, there's no causation that the examiner is going to find. And what we want to make sure we have in our medical records is a statement close to this as possible, which is it's as least as likely as not that this veteran's current condition originated from their time in service. So what I need to happen is my records to contain a clear medical professional statement connecting my injury, event, or illness in service to my current condition, so the VA has no legal reason to deny it. Here's what you can do before the C&P exam. You can ask your provider, would they be willing to provide a nexus statement in your record or write a separate letter or maybe even complete a private disability benefit questionnaire. And you can ask them, would they be willing to write something like, it's as least as likely as not, or more likely than not, if they feel strongly about it, that the current condition you have originated from your time in service. And if your provider won't do it, and not all will, you can look into getting an independent medical opinion. I know in my own claim, my primary care physician actually wrote in a couple of places in my medical records that she thought that the current conditions I was dealing with were originating from my time in military service. Without that link, we're totally dependent on the examiner and the rater to put two and two together. Would you consider subscribing to my channel and help me to continue reaching as many veterans as possible? Also, would you consider liking this video, sharing it, drop me a comment, let me know where you're watching from, and I'll look for you on the next video.